Okay, I'm going to stand with this thing and blast it a bit. I'd say rather positive feedback than not hearing anything. So, welcome everybody. First of all, if any of you are Twitter users and you're live tweeting, NSAI is on Twitter, and we'd very much welcome your comments on this or on the other topic. So the hashtag was there, I went too fast. Our handle is NSAI_standards. For those of you not familiar with NSAI, the National Standards Authority of Ireland, we provide really a whole range of technical services from the state to business and to industry to aid efficiency and competitiveness. That's a long sentence. So there's a whole lot there. All of you in business will know ISO 9001. It's the most successful worldwide standard with over 1 million users around the world in some 160 countries. And by the way, ISO 9000 has just been completely revamped this year in 2016 to cater for the new business challenges, including digitization, what we're talking about today. So NSAI would certify to ISO 9000 and lots of other related management standards in Ireland, in the US and around the world. We certify medical device products, motor vehicle components, food products to be placed on the European market. We look after the national measurement standards behind everything we do, and we control the application of those measurement standards in trade through what we call legal metrology, our weights and measures. So there's a whole lot of different things going on there, but the one I want to talk about today is our role in facilitating Ireland's input into developing national, European and international standards. Right now, for your business, for every business, as you know, speaking to the converted, otherwise you wouldn't be here today, Industry 4.0 is with us and on top of us. You've already had it explained from the other speakers, but just very quickly, for those who just joined the group now, we are considered to be at the beginning of the 4th industrial revolution. The first back in the 18th century, steam and water and the spinning loom. The second, 100 years later, with the advent of electricity and automation. The third, as recently as 1970, approximately, which was really the widespread application of computers, software, and automation of assembly lines, robots introduced, all of that. It's less than 50 years since then, and already it's widely accepted now that we have entered the next phase. And the next phase, the 4th industrial revolution, is about digitization, connection of everything and systems everywhere through the internet and through technology. So for Irish businesses, it's terrific to see so many people here today. We have a fantastic opportunity, and the case I'll make is that we are particularly well prepared for what's happening in Industry 4.0, and I don't really have to make the case because you only have to walk around the exhibition and you only have to listen to some of the earlier speakers who've gone into the technology more than I will to realise just how much good is going on here. But every business has to be very aware of this. It's happening right now and it's happening very fast. And if you're aware that there are opportunities, if you're not and you think this doesn't apply to me, there's a big risk of being left behind. Just take, for example, well, sorry, I should say, what is the Industry 4.0 and the whole digitization of business? As I say, it's connecting everything, but what it really is a whole series of what I would call foundation technologies based on digital technology and communications, which are all developing at a very rapid pace, side by side. Can you read that from the back? This is one cut at this from Boston Consulting Group, and they've identified 9 key technologies, things you'd be familiar with: big data, autonomous robotics, simulation, horizontal and vertical system integration, the industrial Internet of Things. We've had many of these this morning already. cybersecurity, cloud computing, additive manufacturing, 3D manufacturing, they stand right beside us, augmented reality, Google Glasses. All these factors, and I'm not going to go into them, are all developing in parallel at a terrific pace, and they're beginning to come together. They're coming together in our daily lives, but they're coming together more rapidly in an industrial context. So if you take a traditional company, like Ford, like a car manufacturer, Ford and any car manufacturer would have traditionally seen its competitors as other car manufacturers, like Volkswagen or Nissan. And maybe in the last decade or so, they would have been increasingly aware, and they are increasingly aware of the electric vehicle and emerging technologies, niche players like Tesla, who may become mainstream players. And watch this, when the batteries become cheap, we might all want an electric car. All very controlled, all very orderly. But that's all changed. Suddenly, for companies like Ford and Volkswagen, the competitor isn't Nissan or Toyota anymore. It might be Google, or it might be an IT company. And we've suddenly, in a very rapid time, entered the era of the driverless car, the autonomous vehicle. And who's to say what other technologies are out there being developed and about to hit the marketplace? And can you imagine the reaction of the marketing department in all these big players trying to come to grips with this? It's no longer about the fine tuning of cylinders and the lovely things you read about the car brochures. The language might completely change. So this is a challenge we all have to be very aware of. And the question is, how long will it take? And that probably is the key point here today. You can say this is something I can watch for the next 5 or 10 years, but it's not going to take 5 or 10 years. A year ago, now I might have missed it, but a year ago I wasn't aware that the technology was so advanced we could have a driverless car. But now there's 5 or 6 different systems out there being tested and being driven successfully. So in every business it's a key factor. So how are you going to make good medium-term capital investment decisions when you've got this all-pervasive, disruptive digital technology coming in top of every business? You don't know where your business is going to be in 5 years. An earlier speaker said payback time of 120 days. That's great, because the days of payback time of 8 years are very hard to cope with. You've got to have excellent management systems, you've got to have excellent risk management, and you've got to have a way of tracking technology outside of your core area, outside of your area of comfort. And how do you do that? Well, one way lies behind maybe this question. How can standards, and we in the NSAI, the National Standards Authority, help you in your business to address Industry 4.0? Standards play a huge role, but you're not aware of them. I would argue that standards have transformed the world we live in. And standards have been a key driver behind each of the first 3 industrial revolutions. And there's no reason to believe it will be any different for this one. That might be a big claim, but let me just take one simple example. If I take this fella, that's my ATM card. It's made of a plastic. The material is standard. The flexibility is standardized. The dimensions, width and breadth, are standard. The corner dimension is standardized, so it doesn't cut my pocket. The numbers are embossed. That's the exact standard. The font of the numbers, what each of those numbers means, is another standard. There's a chip on the card, where that chip is, the 12 connections to that chip, what each of them does, the grade of brass, everything is a standard. This card costs a few cents to make. At the back there's a magnetic strip, that's standardized. There's a signature plate. All of that is there. So imagine if you could only use that card in one machine in your local branch of your local bank where you have your account. And that was the way in 1960 when these were brought out. Now we take it for granted that we can travel to any city in any country all over the world, pull out a card, put it in the machine and get our money out. If you have any money in your account on a wet Tuesday at the end of January. I'm not in that one.